And we are live.
All right. Good morning, everyone. It's the one, the only, Senor Silverback, and I'm joined with again CJ, and most importantly, one of my and our favorite guests, Dave from X22 Report. Dave doesn't need no introduction, and if you haven't, and I'm gonna tell you guys again, if you haven't subscribed to X22 Report, you need to do it. The X22 Report is one of my go-to channels. Dave puts together some of the best reports out there. I mean, between him and Sean, I have my fix. Sean from SGT and Dave from X22. It's like the 1-2 punch right there. I'm good to go. Subscribe, show your love and support, especially this time as the whole entire world is turning into a giant shit show with all this censorship and what just happened recently in Syria and all these other things. We need your support and your love and your prayers as much as possible. With that being said, Dave, I don't want to hog up any more of your time, man. I know you are right now just looking at your coffee mug, swirling your coffee around and wondering what the hell just happened.
Yeah, I mean, I've been reporting on this for a long time about Syria and things like that. And and it's funny because people have told me, "Oh, you should stop reporting on that." And they write in, like, I get a lot of emails and they say, "Oh, nothing's ever going to happen there." I'm like, I'm telling you right now, the deep state, they never give up. They wait, they plan, they sit it out. They always try to reach their goal. They will not stop until they get what they want.
Yeah.
And we had the 59 Tomahawk missiles fly into Syria. They're saying only 23 were successful. I don't know what happened to the rest, where they fell.
Yeah, exactly. They're such antiquated pieces of crap. Hopefully, most of them fell into the ocean. Thank God. I'm right now. We have about 6 civilian deaths confirmed. I think it is.
Yep.
4 military, and thankfully, no Russians were killed. Thank God. Oh my God. Can you imagine, Dave?
Yeah. I mean, to me, part of this, I mean, everyone's like, oh, Trump is now an neocon and things like that. And, you look at the whole situation and you knew eventually that Trump, how long could he put up with the people behind the curtain? I mean, eventually they were going to end up, and I said this many times, that eventually they were going to end up threatening him. Eventually if that didn't work, we were heading towards assassination because he was diving too deep into the truth. He was calling way too many things out in the open. And they knew eventually that was going to stop. And I mean, we also see like the censorship on YouTube, what's going on there. And, you start to put all this together and you can start to see like, okay, what is going on here? Something major is about to happen. They don't want people talking about it. They're trying to put the alternative media out of business because, a lot of things, we have really nothing to gain. It's not like, oh, we're getting, corporate sponsors sending us millions of dollars, or we have anyone telling us what to do. We just look at everything, and we're not on the Russian side. Also, I'm very upset because my site was not listed as one of the Russian one of the sites and one of the YouTube channels that was siding with Russia. And
you should step it up, Dave. You should step it up next time. I'm disappointed in you.
And I talk a lot about Russia, and I was very upset about that they didn't even recognize me at all with that. So
I'm mad because I haven't been labeled as fake news yet either. I mean, Sean SGT made it. I mean, he was, I think he mentioned on Washington Post. So kudos to you, Sean.
He made it, and I'm like, oh man, I want to be on that list.
Yeah, but me too.
I guess I'm too small, and they didn't recognize me, or they don't take me seriously. Either one, I don't know.
Hopefully next year you get to make it, man. I'll be rooting for you.
I feel like that's like I think those are the awards for us.
That is.
So, all the other journalists have some. These are the awards, and we should have like a whole auditorium. We should all come together, and we should make like the Russian award, and we should all accept it. And I think that'd be very nice.
This year's Kremlin Vladimir Putin Award goes to.
Yes.
How many Putins have you won? I have 5.
Exactly. That would be funny. See, oh, by the way, Wall Street Journal, we're making a joke here. But you know what? I mean, part of me, now, I guess after all this has happened, since we fired these missiles into Syria and we've taken out air bases, because, really, let's think about this and break this down. They're telling us that Assad used chemical weapons that were completely removed from his country, and everything was dismantled. And the U.S. signed off on it. The UN signed off on it.
Yep, Russia signed.
Russia was involved. They signed off on it. They even reported on how they were taking them out to sea and destroying them, and they made a whole big deal about it.
Right.
And now they're saying, he found some under the rock. He was, making them underground, and they're trying to, create something that wasn't really there in the first place. But while all this is happening, and this is what people don't understand all the time, they think like this just came out of the blue, like, oh my God, all of a sudden. But they don't realize the United States has been building 2 bases in Syria. The French have been building a base in Syria. They just hardened the runway on one of the bases to bring in C-17s. And they've been bringing in more and more military assets. This hasn't been going on just in the last hour. This has been going on, and they've been planning for a separation of Syria. I mean, this is what the plan was. I mean, if they can get Assad out, that would be their ultimate plan. But if they can't get Assad, they would like to separate Syria. And I mean, they can call the zones whatever they want: no-fly, safe zones, stabilization zones. I mean, they just keep changing the name. It's all the same. And for a no-fly,
transgender, non-binary zone, if they wanted to, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, and everyone doesn't understand to get these zones. I mean, what do they have to do? They have to take out the Air Force, the Syrian Air Force. And it's funny, what targets? What did they hit? Air bases. Mm-hmm. That's kind of strange that they would hit 2 air bases. I wonder why. Because, Assad, he can't launch chemical weapons. I mean, we know he's not doing this, but, if we hit those 2 bases, there's no way that he can launch any other chemical weapons from any other place. I mean, it doesn't even make sense what they're talking about.
This just came in, breaking news right now. A truck just rammed into a crowd in central Stockholm, Sweden. Aloha snack bar to everyone.
Wow.
Just happening right now.
This is the terrorist weapons now, trucks.
Yes, trucks.
I mean, and knives.
Knives.
Because, in most of the countries they ban the guns, so it wouldn't make sense, because how do they get the guns? So they have to say knives and trucks. But again, this actually goes to the point where their whole entire gun ban doesn't even make sense, because they're telling us the guns were the problem. Apparently not. Trucks are the problem. Knives are the problem. I mean, because the weapon has nothing to do with anything. It has to do with the person behind it, or the operative behind it, or the patsy behind it. So, their whole story right now doesn't make sense. And I think everyone is really shocked that Trump went down this path and he folded like this. But one thing it does do for him, it really gets that Russian collusion off his back. Because, wait a minute, he just fired missiles into Syria where Russia was. Is he really dealing with the Russians? No, it doesn't look like he really is.
No.
So, I mean, he has that going for him. I mean, did he do this so he can get rid of that? People are saying that also, but that doesn't make sense to me. You're going to fire Tomahawk missiles into a country, so they're not saying that you're colluding with Russia anymore and kill, innocent people. That makes no sense.
Yeah, it's just too damn risky. And number one, and number two is this: the Russians were given no warning, even though early on people say, "Oh, we won the Russians." When this crap was happening, I immediately got on the horn with one of my deep sources. He's like, "No, we were in meeting." He said this: "We were in meeting with the Russians the other day. They were trying to come up with some sort of agreement. They never relied on anything, and the Russians were warned when the Tomahawks were already in flight." And I said, "Okay, knowing that the Tomahawks fly about 450 to 500 miles an hour, and the distance, how long do you think they have?" And he said, "We gave them about 20 minutes." So that's the situation over there, man. I mean, Trump's doing that. They have that idiot son-in-law of his, Jared Kushner. What is that kid doing? That kid is in, that he's a cuck. I firmly believe that what Steve Bannon said about him, that he is a total cuck and a globalist sellout. He was in Iraq the other day, wearing a flak jacket and a blazer. Did you see those pictures? It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Who is this kid?
Yeah, you know what? I feel like all these individuals and all these promises and everything that's always said to us, it always turns out to be a lie. And then the truth from their actions, it always reveals itself. And I mean, people keep telling me, no, Trump is, he's an insider and stuff. But you know what? We all wanted.
I don't think he's an insider still.
No,
I
I
just think
don't.
he's being manipulated.
Yeah, that's what I think also. And you know what? I mean, I like to give people benefit of the doubt. I also like to have a little bit of hope because, everyone says I'm so negative. So here's my hope that, things were going to change. And I think we all felt that. We all felt that there was going to be a change in the country. Truth was going to come out, and it was starting to come out. And we thought like, okay, things are going to change now. Things are going to get a little bit better. And we find out that no, we're going back to exactly where we were. Actually, I think it's a little worse now. Now I think it's a little bit worse than it was with Obama, because I think the deep state, those behind the curtain, I think they are very desperate at this point. I think they're running against the clock now, and they realize what's going on in Syria. Because remember, their whole plan was to get the Middle East. And I mean, look what's happening in Libya. I mean, General Haftar is working with Putin there,
Yep.
and the UN-backed government. That's just a joke. I mean, they don't even do anything. The people don't even want them. Yemen, we're going into Yemen now because we're losing that. We're losing Libya, where they wanted to, keep control of all these countries. Iraq is a complete mess. Syria, Russia and Syria, I mean, they almost annihilated the Islamic State. They're almost gone. This is why they needed to do this now, because they're like, holy crap, look what's happening. We need to do something, and we can't wait. And this is why they ginned all this up so quick. Well, not really quickly. They've been planning on this for quite a while. But it just came out, and they said, okay, we got to go for it now. And Trump had to be on board with all this. And it looks like they used something. They pressured him. They did something to force what they wanted. And I think from now on, and I could just see when you look at him and you see what he's saying, and when he had the press conference, the look on his face, how he was, it was completely different.
Yeah,
His whole body language completely different than the way it was before. Everything's changed.
It really is. And I think I think my wife made the point that, he looked like he was like trying to get these words out of his mouth, so to speak,
Yeah.
like he was not happy. He was not enthused. He was, I don't know what they got on him. I mean, there's no doubt at the end of the day, he is, totally being manipulated. It's unreal, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably what all this spying was about. And this is what it's always about. The pedophilia and the spying and all this stuff is really to keep control of the politicians, to keep control of what's going on. And if they can get you in these situations, or they can get you on something, it's all used to control everyone. And if they can't be controlled, they're taken out. And I feel like, we're heading down that path into a terrible, terrible situation.
Yes.
And I don't know anyone that I speak to that wants war. And again, I just did an interview with James Wesley Rawls, and we were talking about, the situation in World War III and things like that. And he was telling me that, this people don't understand. They think like, oh, it's going to be like World War II, where it's fought overseas, and we're not going to, we'll get the news clips, and, we'll hear what's going on the news, and we'll sit here nice and safe, and, we'll have the sun rise, the trees will be blooming, everything will be fantastic. And that's not the case, because these countries that we're going up against, they have equipment, they have actually equipment, military assets that far greater than the United States has.
Right.
And we're in trouble this time. I mean, when we talk about cyber attacks, and when we talk about, missiles hitting cities, I mean, we're going to see what a real cyber attack is like.
Yeah.
We're going to see what a real advanced missile system is like when it flies up in the air, and we shoot off our missile shield, and every single missile misses theirs, because theirs can, bob and weave, and they can maneuver. Right. And kind of, they're not a ballistic flight where it's a straight trajectory right to us.
Exactly.
They have the ability to maneuver. And when we miss all of it and the missiles come,
Yeah.
people are going to be shot. Like the United States will not be the same ever again.
No, never. And all it takes, man, is one RS-28 Sarmat, aka
Yeah.
Satan 2, the most powerful nuclear weapon on planet Earth. I think it's 150 megaton yield. We don't have anything close to it in our inventory. One of those missiles can take out the entire state of Texas. I mean, the entire state gone.
Yeah.
And it's hypersonic, and it does high G, I think 120 G maneuvers right before impact. There's no defense against it. None. We don't have anything to defend it. I mean, dude, I mean, the Russians have torpedoes, Dave, that are nuclear tipped that could take out an aircraft carrier. These torpedoes do close to 500 knots underwater. 500 knots underwater. It's crazy. We have nothing. I mean, they're ahead of us, and that's the whole thing. See, we've been lulled into thinking that, you know, we have the most vaunted military in the world because we pick on a whole bunch of defenseless countries that can't do nothing in return. We cannot fight a technological peer.
No, we can't. No, and I mean the aircraft carriers and what we have right today, you know, Russia has aircraft carrier missile destroyers. I mean, we won't even have the fleet of aircraft carriers. Those will be just completely destroyed. Those are obsolete right now.
Exactly. Yeah. They're totally obsolete. Like, why would you want to float we're going to float the USS Gerald Ford directly into the Gulf of the Persian Gulf. Okay, it'll go right to the bottom. It's a sitting duck. I mean, and most American, if you listen to these defense strategists talk on you know, certainly not news, you know, CNN or MSLSD or any one of these shows, they're like, well, we are the largest superpower in the world. We have aircraft carrier battle groups that can project power. Project what? And they mock the Russians. Well, Russia and China, they don't have an aircraft carrier battle group like us. They don't need to. They have weapon systems. I mean, think about it. You have like the Caliber cruise missile or the new Zircon anti-ship missile that the Russians just developed. That thing flies at 5,300 miles per hour. 5,300 miles per hour with a 200-mile range. And that thing could sink a carrier, and we have no defenses against it. So a missile that's like maybe, you know, $3 million to make can take out a $4 billion aircraft carrier. I mean, who are the smart ones here, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, we're using the strategy from World War II. Let's build a lot of aircraft carriers, and let's, you know, we'll make them bigger so, you know, everyone can see where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, they'll be easier targets, and we'll just use the same exact strategy, and that's all we did.
Exactly, and the funny thing is we're also using the air combat strategy from the Vietnam War. Oh, our planes don't need guns. Everything's beyond visual range. They won't see us coming. Our planes are invisible. And then people who are real defense analysts say, wait a minute, the F-22 and the F-35 can be lit up on a radar screen like a Christmas tree using low wavelength radars that were used in the Battle of Britain back in World War II. Using those low wavelength radars, you could light those planes up. You could see where they're coming from. The Russians have that, and they have it where, you know, their newer ASA radars that they have, and their new infrared search and track, where they can just shut the radar, like an Su-35, which is the best damn fighter airplane in the world right now, can shut off its radar using its infrared search and track and can track the heat signature of a small bird from 30 miles away. I mean, we have marketing hype, Dave. That's all we have.
You're assuming that the F-35 is going to fly.
Oh, yeah, I'm assuming that the F-35 can actually fly.
I mean, they've had a lot of trouble with that plane, and if that plane was actually in combat, it's dead in the water. I mean,
dead in the water. It can't turn. I mean, every simulation wasn't it like not long ago where they had a fully loaded F-16 with external fuel tanks?
I was just going to say that. Yeah,
dog fought an F-35 and beat it.
Yeah. So if the F-16 can beat it, I guess what? I mean, what the Russian planes and their new MiGs and all that. I mean, forget it.
We're gonna get shredded, man. It's like when the Rand Corporation ran that simulation of the F-35 versus the you know, the Su-30s, Su-27s, the MiG-29, or the MiG-35s. The Australian observers observing the entire exercise said it was like watching the F-35s getting blown out of the sky. They're like, it's like they said, quote unquote, it was like clubbing baby seals.
Oh.
I mean, this is a joke. We're fomenting war with some of the biggest superpowers, and we're sending our men and women to go forth and die for banker wars. That's all it is.
Yes, that's all it is. Paper and ink.
Yep.
Going, and I'm hoping that Putin, he's not really an individual that reacts and says,
Right.
okay, let's launch our fleet, let's launch our missiles. That's it, we're done. He's more of a chess player. So I'm hoping he sees what's going on. He tries to calm the situation down once again, and robs the war from the deep state.
Yeah.
But again, the deep state, they won't stop. They're going to continue on with what they're doing, and this will lead into more events. And this is why this is not the end. This is just the beginning.
Correct.
Because we're really coming down the path now into spring and summer. And I mean, I've been following the economy, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And it doesn't, half the numbers don't even make sense anymore. And it feels like we're repeating the 2008 Great Recession run up. And it feels like we're heading down that same exact path. Actually, the Fed is doing the exact same thing as they did prior to 2008. Very similar.
Yeah.
And I feel like they realize that the economy's coming down. This is part of their plan to get us into war, again, to reduce the population and then restart the whole system. And I think we're at that point where, for many years, people are like, oh, you keep saying war, it's never going to happen. They're moving all this military assets into Eastern Europe, putting them into caves and moving troops into the Baltics and all these areas. They're just doing it just to do it. No, they're not doing it. They don't do anything just to do it. They're doing it for a purpose. Everything is always done ahead of time.
Correct.
Because, I mean, think about it. What's the purpose of the United States to be in Syria right now if the Islamic State is pretty much done? Because we know the United States is not fighting the Islamic State. Why would they be there? And they know once the Islamic State is completely ousted from the country, there is no reason for them to be in the country. And they know this.
Right.
So they have to make their move now. They have no choice. And this is why we see this happening right now. And we'll have to see where this goes. We'll have to see the response. We already saw that, Syria, condemns the action, of course. And Russia also condemns this. And we'll have to see where this goes and how Putin reacts to all of this, because that's really where all of this comes down to. It's what the Russians do at this point. Now, they would love the Russians to, they would love them to, strike back somehow, some way, or have Assad strike back somehow, some way, so they can say, okay, we're ready for war, because we have a lot of troops inside of Syria. We have a lot of troops inside of Iraq. And I do believe this is why they said they don't want to report how many troops are out in that area anymore.
Yeah.
Because, I know we have this agreement with Iraq where we can only have 6,000 permanent troops.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everyone doesn't realize that we have about 20,000 plus temporary troops with open-ended expiration dates. Those are not counted, and those don't go under the agreement of the permanent troops out in Iraq. And a lot of those troops are being moved into Syria. So we have a major problem here. And they've been ramping this up for a very long time. And Turkey right now, they've been carving out the whole entire area in the northern section of Syria. I mean, this is all for the safe zone. I mean, Turkey, yesterday I can't even believe that Turkey was saying, yes, they did autopsies. Yes, it was gas. And when we did the autopsies, all the evidence points to Assad. And they tried to bring in the World Health Organization, and the World Health Organization said, no, we didn't do any autopsies. This is untrue. We weren't part of this. And you could see they're all back in it together. They're all doing the same exact thing. And they're all saying Assad must go. They're doing the same huge, huge push. Worse, I think, than 2013, because all our stuff is already there. Mm-hmm. It's already ready to go. I mean, back in 2013, we had all the aircraft carriers and the ships sail over there. We already have them there.
Yeah.
We already actually have the troops inside the country. We already have the air bases that are supporting all the military assets coming in. I mean, right now, it's been set up for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I think they're getting ready to separate Syria. That's their plan.
Yeah, that's what they want to do. And they want to put a Kurdish state in there because the Kurds who are a non-people, who are nomads, who have historically just wandered. I mean, there are Kurds in Iraq, Kurds in Syria, Kurds in Saudi Arabia, Kurds in Yemen, Kurds in the UAE. Kurds are everywhere. Why? Because they're nomads. They don't believe, culturally, they don't believe in borders. So now you want to give the Kurds all of a sudden a country? Why? Because you want to make them a proxy so you have a permanent foothold in the Middle East. Again, because the only way to stop the U.S. war machine, you got to kill the dollar. You have to kill the dollar, and you have to, end it quickly. I mean, I was just reminded of a quote by Army Colonel Douglas McGregor. This guy's like a legend in the military in terms of he's a legendary commander. This guy's led special ops teams, the whole 9 yards, and he put together a presentation for many of the U.S. war colleges, and it was a simulation based upon. What would it be like for an American armored division facing off against a Russian adversary? Okay. And this was in early September. Now, he circulated a PowerPoint presentation showing that in a head-to-head confrontation pitting against the equivalent of a U.S. armored division against a likely adversary, the U.S. division would be defeated. And this is what McGregor said. Defeated, quote unquote, isn't the right word, McGregor said. The right word is annihilated. Annihilated. That's what we're heading for.
I completely agree with you with this. I mean, this is a no-win situation here. And if we continue on this path, we will see World War III. And they already have the draft bill already set up, floating around in Congress. That's been there for quite a while. They're waiting for the perfect event. We know that Sweden has implemented the draft. We know that Putin has extended the draft to bring in more men into the armed forces because he knows what's coming. He knows eventually, and he said it. He came out and said it, that these individuals in your government, they're pushing for war, and if it's not stopped, we will go into. I mean, we will have war,
right?
And we're on our way right now, and
we are. That is the trajectory. And
I mean, unless something dramatically changes and something happens, this is where we are. And it's funny when this started to happen last night, where they were firing off the Tomahawk missiles, and you heard the corporate media. And I was moving, flipping around to see what they were all saying and stuff like that, because I like to see what they say and stuff, and how I like to hear all the lies and how they're trying to twist everything. But it felt like they were cheerleaders. Like, yay, we finally did it. We're destroying Syria. And it felt like they were cheering this on.
Yep.
Like, Dave, this is how.
Literally, man. It was like, I'm sure that last night that John McCain and Lindsey Graham were having a foam party in their underwear.
Oh, yeah. God. Now I have a visual in my mind right now. I can't get it out.
That's exactly what I mean. When there's a problem when John McCain and Lindsey Graham are praising Trump now. ISIS is praising Trump. Al Qaeda is praising Trump. Yeah. The mainstream, lamestream media is praising Trump. Like, what the hell happened, man? It's there's an old saying. Okay, you don't want to go you don't want to walk right into the zoo and slap the gorilla. What we've done is walked into the zoo and slapped an angry Russian grizzly bear. This is not good. And like you said, man, Putin is a tactician. He doesn't react. He responds. That's the difference.
And I mean, we'll see how he responds. I'm hoping that he is going to respond in a way that the U.S. doesn't think he's going to respond. I shouldn't say the U.S. because I should say the neocons, the deep state, those individuals, because that's what he always does. He always does something with a twist to calm the situation down. I'm still hoping that he's on that path. And I'm not this whole Putin fan. Like, I mean, that's what people always say. Oh my God, you're on Putin's side. And this is why I wasn't on the Russian list. I don't understand. But no, but my whole thing is that I'm going with Putin because every time all his actions lead to peace, every time the U.S. tries to create war. And I'm on the side of peace. Now, I have children. They are at the age where they could be drafted. And that makes me very, very nervous because I don't want anyone's children, my children, I mean, anyone's children out there, or your cousins, your brother, your sister, to go to war for these individuals because they want to get what they want to get. They want to keep the dollar propped up. And I don't want to fight a war over paper and ink and for someone else's agenda, because this has nothing to do with this country attacking us. Syria didn't attack us. Why did we attack Syria? Congress didn't vote and say, yes, we're waging war. I mean, none of this happened. I mean, think about what really has to happen for us to attack a country. I mean, of course, they changed the rules so they can do these type of things. But the way the founding fathers really set this out, Congress really had to give the president permission to do this. Did Congress give permission? Did they vote? No. We just attacked a country where this country never attacked us.
Right.
So are we the new Nazi Germany right now? I mean, think about it for a second. Just go back in time. Change everything around. We invaded Libya, Yemen, Somalia, Sudan, Lebanon, Iraq, Ukraine, Syria. Now, go back to 1940, whatever it was, 1938, whatever it was. How does the rest of the world see us right now if it was everything switched around? And now we just fired missiles into Syria. We have troops invading a sovereign country. We don't have Congress giving us permission to go to war. They didn't vote on it. We have a president and presidents before him, because I think right now the last 5 presidents has bombed Iraq, and now this new president is bombing Syria. I mean, think about what's happening here. I mean, is the rest of the world, when all this is said and done, how are we going to be perceived later on? Well, they invaded this country. I mean, think about it. If we lose, and most likely we probably will, the history books are going to look at this, and the history is going to go as follows. The United States, to keep, they won't even mention the dollar, invaded this country, this country, this country. They'll show pictures of what the lives look like in these countries. They fired upon Syria, got into war with Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and they lost the war. And, and whoever is president at the time, that person is going to be the new Hitler. That's how that person is going to be perceived.
Yep.
Because remember, the winning side always writes history.
Right.
And if the United States doesn't come out on top, history is going to be written in a way that the American flag is going to be looked at almost like the Nazi flag.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be, yeah. And I mean, people don't like hearing this, and people think, oh, but you really need to understand what's going on here, because the German people back in that time, and it's funny because my wife, her grandfather was German. He fought in World War II. His whole family was from Germany. And I remember when the war started in Germany, the people were, rallying behind going into each and every country. And,
right.
They're like, this is what we need to do. This is, we need to, extend the fatherland. We need to push out. And here we have, and I talk to people around here, they're like, oh yes, we need to go into this country. And it feels like, okay, you sound like, yeah, it feels like we're doing the same thing again, because they're making you believe that this is how it's supposed to be.
Right.
And it's very, very scary.
No, it's incredibly scary. And that's why when I, talk about World War II with most Americans, they think, we're the reason why World War II stopped in the European theater. And it's really not. It's actually because of the Russians. I mean, think about it. The Russians took the heaviest losses. They are the ones who pushed back the Germans and really weakened the German army. Because let's be honest here. If America entered the war at about the same time when the German military were at its peak, we would have got our asses handed to us.
Yeah, we came at the point where they were getting very weak, and the Allied forces were starting to win. That's when the United States came in.
Exactly, and then we took all the glory.
Yeah, planned that perfectly.
Made all the Hollywood movies, and then created the propaganda needed to condition the masses to think that we're this invincible fighting force that can never be stopped. And then for the next 50 years, what do? We went around spelunking throughout the world, taking out countries.
Yeah.
Unreal.
And sometimes we didn't win.
No,
And
then we
also
said, yeah,
no, I mean people don't understand also that we're fighting countries that really can't fight back. I mean, when we went into Iraq, I mean, that was kind of a joke. I mean, they really didn't have a force to fight us. Lebanon, Libya. I mean, they didn't have any way to really fight the United States. Yes, they can put up a fight for a little while, but these countries, they weren't really um, uh, real adversaries that we would have to go up against. China, Russia, these are real adversaries. These countries are a problem.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the same thing where they televise it on TV where we're rolling in with tanks and all the reporters are there and we're going into Moscow now. It's not going to be like that.
No, exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be completely different. It's going to be a disaster, and I'm praying, I'm hoping that we don't go that far. But I've been studying the deep state and how they do things and how they react and how they keep going after the goal, because in their minds, the way they think, they feel that they are superior. They feel that they can do this. And every time a plan goes south, they just come up with a different plan.
Right.
Or they use the same one over and over to try to get a different result. And of course, that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over, but they do this. I mean, think about it. They tried, how many times have they mentioned gas attacks in Syria?
Oh, sarin,
chlorine, mustard, and at this point,
when it's a known fact, Dave, that these terrorist guys, they have the capability to manufacture sarin gas. We've known it since 2012.
Yeah. Oh no, they've been using it all along.
52 times.
I mean, with anyone with a brain and anyone using critical thinking,
God forbid.
Wouldn't you think that? Okay, let's see. There's terrorists in this country. There's all these gas attacks, and they're gassing the people of Syria. Why in the world would Assad gas his own people? It's like George Washington fighting the British, turning around saying, you know what, now we got to destroy the people behind us because those are our people. Turn the cannons around, hit them. What benefit would that give George Washington? Nothing. Assad has an 80% approval rating from his people. Think about it. He brought in Russia. They removed the terrorists. They liberated town after town after town, city after city. Why would he want to hurt the people, especially at this point? There's no reason to do it.
No.
It doesn't benefit him in any way.
Right.
Who does it benefit? It benefits the
ISIS.
losers. It benefits the people who are losing, who are almost out of the country, who need to gain some ground.
Right.
The people who want to start a war, that's who it benefits. I mean, the American people, I'm hoping they can see this. I mean, I know the corporate media, they have to bow to their masters. They're with their masters. They're going to report whatever their masters say. I mean, I saw the interview, I think it was on CNN or something. It's on my site, but it's with a congressman, I think, was it Thomas Massey or something, where he's saying to the reporter, don't we should have an investigation. I don't think it's Assad. And the reporter's face was like, wait, you're going to believe Syria and Russia over the United States?
Yeah, and make it a patriotic thing.
Yeah, but it's funny that a congressman would be saying this now at this point.
Right.
And the reporter is telling someone who's in government, are you going to believe Russia or Syria over what the intelligence agencies and what we're telling you? This tells you there is some type of movement and people aren't really sure that this is the truth anymore.
Right.
And
well, the wench that was interviewing him, that wench's husband is one of the corporate execs over at Blackstone.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So all connected. Everyone's connected.
Everyone's connected, man. Everyone's connected. One of the things that people don't realize, man, even the way we fight wars is so damn obsolete, Dave. I mean, when you look, most people don't realize that when the American Army, our military operates in what's called brigade combat teams, or BCTs. Okay. Brigade combat teams in a modern high-speed war that we have against a technological peer doesn't work. That's why brigade combat teams are ineffective in places like in Iraq. They're ineffective in places like Afghanistan, where they're barely holding on to Kabul, But every time a light, agile team is deployed, like a special ops team like SEALs or Delta, the job is done very effectively, very quickly. The Russians have learned this. So the Russians, they don't operate under what's called brigade combat teams. They work in closely knit, highly kinetic strike groups. So they move in fast, they move in quick, and their armies are incredibly networked. And they have the best electronic warfare systems on the planet. I mean, literally, they can shut down our tanks, our helicopters, our armored personnel carriers. They shut them down dead, almost like an EMP strike. They have that ability. And then they'll come in very fast and then clean us up. And that's one of the things that this Colonel McGregor was arguing with the Pentagon. And of course, the Pentagon just dismisses him like he's a crazy lunatic. But this is, and then we see, what do we see as soon as the Russians enter Syria? The same tactics: fast moving, high speed, highly effective hit and runs.
Yeah.
And we have nothing against that. We face annihilation in that type of war, because the whole entire, brigade combat teams with the lumbering tanks and the massive supply lines, that's not going to work. That's why we need months and months and months and months and months to get a military built up before action.
Yeah.
And then the Russians will be there in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, this is what we've been seeing. They've been taking months and months and months to build up in Syria, bringing all the military assets in, setting everything up, getting prepared to separate the stabilization zone. And it needs, to do this, they're going to need to destroy the air bases. They're going to need to have ground troops on the ground. And it's going to be a huge fight. This is the only way they can do this. They just can't, put up a fence and say, hey, this part's ours now.
Yeah.
That's not just the way it works. I think people think that, like, oh, we're setting up this nice stabilization zone where they're going to build houses. It's going to be very nice. No, because Russia and Syria, they're not this. You're setting this up in a sovereign country, and you're just not going to say, okay, it's almost like Syria, Assad coming into this country saying, you know something, we're just going to take Texas. That's going to be the stabilization zone. You don't mind, right? Because we're helping you fight Islamic State inside the United States. You don't mind if our armed forces are in here, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's just absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct.
We're heading down this very, very dangerous path. And with everything that's happening, and we knew this was happening for a very long time. I'm surprised that the Fed and the central bankers and everything were able to keep the economy going for this long. But I think at this point they realize, okay, it's done. It's time. And I've always said that, and I think you've said it also, that this was going to be interlinked with a war at the same time to pretty much try to cover this whole entire thing up. Because you think about it, if we do have a war and they push us into a war and the economy is collapsing, it's a lot easier to explain why people have to sacrifice.
Yep.
Because they can say, it's because of the war. Oh, we're not getting the food supplies in. It's because of the war. You don't have fuel. It's because of the war. The president can come out and tell everyone needs to sacrifice. Everyone is, not going to get tax returns. Everyone is not going to get whatever they thought they were going to have. And this has nothing to do with the war. It has to do with the economy completely falling apart. And then this will also give the Fed the excuse to say, okay, since we're in war, since everything's going on, we can help out. And since we have so much debt, it makes no difference anyhow. They will just start creating currency like crazy to pay for the war. If the debt's paid off, it makes no difference at this point because they're fighting the war. So they can just ramp it. There's no printing presses, but they'll just keep pushing that button.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll just creating the currency, and you'll see the debt go, and forget Obama's term, 10 trillion. You'll see this go up 50 trillion in a matter of like 3 years.
Yeah.
And this whole thing will just be a complete nightmare for the American people. It will be a nightmare for the children of the future. And again, we're going to see cities, like you said, destroyed. We're going to see the landscape of the United States destroyed, just like in Europe. We're going to see it here this time.
Right. Exactly. I think we're going to be if this gets pushed further, we're going to look like what Europe looked like in World War II. That's what's going to look like.
Absolutely.
And my thing is this, did you also see the Fed is trying to unwind their balance sheet at the same time? Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're raising interest rates right now. They're going to be I believe they're going to be raising it 2-3 more times. I don't think they'll ever get to where they were back in 2007, where they got it up to like 5.75%. It won't make it that far because they're raising it into a very, very weak economy. And once they start raising it, you can see already the real estate market and everything. They already know that this is going to happen. This is why Bernanke came out and said, "Oh, the next economic crisis, we're going to have to go into negative interest rates." They already know that once they kick it off, they're going to start lowering it and bringing us into the negative territory, because that's the only way, as they create currency, that this whole thing can survive throughout the war. So they've already planned this out. This is not like, oh, they just came up with this and unwinding their balance sheet. Please. I mean, they're preparing and setting up everything. They're ready to go. I mean, these are all the signals. And if you look at all the other indicators of industrial production, the Fed labor participation, what is that? I forget what that was called. The Fed labor indicator. I mean, they're all flashing recession, and every time they drop through a certain point, it's recession, and it's a pattern that you see over time, and we're seeing this pattern. I mean, it's completely obvious in what's going on here, and it's not going to. I mean, the whole thing is just going to implode. And and if you look at other people that look at cycle analysis or Cliff High with linguistics, I mean, it's funny that all these people, Harry Dent, Charles Nenner, Cliff High, all these individuals are saying the same exact thing. All their analysis points to the same thing, that everything is going to be falling apart in the summer, and then the fall, everything just comes to a complete end. Everything just completely, that's it. They're all using different methods.
Yeah, and that was my old forecast from like 2 years ago, saying the same thing. And then with Trump's election, I was like, oh, I think everything could be on the back burner. We have a chance to really move forward. Good. We're not going to go into an economic crash. We'll just go into a reset. It's going to be painful, but hey, we'll come out of it. We'll have a physical economy in place. We'll have maybe some sort of goal back. I mean, there was so much joy and high hopes. And now this crap happens, man. I'm just like, what? Now I'm like, Dave, literally, before I even went on the air, I was taking a shower, a nice cold shower, because I need one. And I was taking a cold shower, and I literally, through my mind, I'm like, what country can I move to that has no expatriation laws? I'm like literally going through a list of my country. I'm like, okay, I think exit plan B is back in effect again. Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't even know where to go. I don't know what part of the world is going to be safe.
I'm going to Singapore.
Yeah, a lot of people. It's funny. A lot of people. I know this older gentleman that he talks in a retirement home about the economic collapse. Is the funniest thing, and he brings a group of people in there and he talks about this. And I was talking to him the other day, and he's been in the financial world all his life, and he's in his 70s now. And he said, one of the best places to go is Singapore.
Yeah,
he goes, that's like one of the best places to go.
Yep, it's a Switzerland.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that.
Yep, and I think that's gonna be my plan this year, is to work my tail off, make as much money as possible, and get the hell out of it. Because if this thing doesn't change, if we're on that trajectory, which I fear that we might be right now, Dave, and I know you're feeling the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things we could do, buddy. I mean, I'll share with you off the air. There's some strategies that I just rapidly thought about. Something has to be done. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
I think everything that we've talked about in the past and everything that we thought was going to change is back to exactly where we were, and nothing actually. It's
2013,
funny,
just like you said, Dave. It's 2013 all over.
It's 2013 all over again. We went in one gigantic big circle. They were able to buy a lot of time. They were able to plan out what they were going to do. I mean, and everyone is saying it doesn't matter if it was Clinton or Trump, or it doesn't matter, because those who are really running the show, this has been their plan all along. Clinton might have gone along a little bit easier with the plan. It might have happened a lot sooner, but it doesn't matter because this is still their plan. And if you look at it, they haven't deviated from their plan. They're still on the same course.
Correct.
So
I remember last month, it was, and CJ, you can correct me on this one. W, our intelligence insider, the guy who's served under Reagan, helped take down the Soviet Union. He came on. He said, "I just got some codes, and the codes were saying look out for an event on April the 6th. And the old man said that. And last night when this crap was happening, I immediately phoned him and I said, "You're right again."
Wow.
And
That
he
is correct.
said,
Yep.
yeah, he was on record saying April the 6th, April the 6th. And now he's also, and he told me, watch out for within the next 8 days for something else.
Wow.
And he keeps emphasizing these people are slaves to the numbers.
Yeah.
And it's true. So let's wait and see.
Yeah.
Unreal. Dave, why don't you give your closing comments and plug your site as well as your channel?
Hey, I'll say what I always say. I mean, we see what's happening today, and I think everyone really needs to prepare not just for the economic collapse, but for what is happening around the world with war. And you need to be ready to move at a moment's notice. Make sure you have food, water, supplies, because we don't know what is going to happen in the future. But we can tell that things are rapidly breaking down and things are deteriorating very, very quickly. I have a YouTube channel. It's X22 Report. I do a daily show Monday through Friday. I do one on Sunday. And I talk about the economy. I talk about geopolitical events. I also have my X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. This is where I do interviews with different individuals. I also have my site, x22report.com, and you can go there and I put different articles and things on that. And I also put the MP3 of the report that I do. So you can go over there and you can listen on the site. And all of this is free, so you can go anywhere you want and everything is free. I don't charge for anything. So, and I talk about all the issues that we just talked about every single day. And that's pretty much it.
Absolutely. With that being said, folks, you could follow us on Twitter at the Rogue Money. Check us out on roguemoney.net. I mean, James is uploading articles. Everybody else is uploading articles real time in response to this whole Syria debacle. And also check out our Rogue Money Facebook page. And you could also catch us on the podcasts. That's both on Apple as well as Google Play Store. You can find us on Stitcher, Shoutcast, and a whole bunch of other things. My God, we're like everywhere at this point. And we're on Apple News. Geez, we're going to be on Google News soon. So keep a lookout for that and keep it tuned here. And again, subscribe to Dave's site, X22. I love what Dave does. So make sure you follow Dave and myself and Sean at SGT because, hey man, we're going to give you guys the truth. We're going to give you guys the best info and we're going to give it to you real time. So that being said, we are over and out. Take it away, CJ.